Hi, this is Beru, and I'm going to walk you through healing the heroic Maloriak encounter from a Resto Druid perspective. We 3 tank and 7 heal this fight. We have a Prot Warrior on Maloriak, a Prot Paladin that tanks the Vile Swills, and another Prot Warrior or a Feral Druid that will assist with tanking the Aberrations once we start releasing them. This first dark phase, I'm going to focus on how we heal the Maloriak tank, and then the next dark phase, I'll focus on how we heal the raid. The most important thing that you need to know about healing the Maloriak tank is that he is going to get a debuff on him called Engulfing Darkness. And this debuff is basically going to make him immune to receiving any healing while it's active. It will drop off for a short period of time of about 2 to 3 seconds before it's reapplied, and your healers have to get that tank topped back up before the debuff goes active again. The way that we handle this is we have one of the 2 healers assigned to the Maloriak tank call out when there is 2 seconds remaining on the Engulfing Darkness debuff to let all of the other healers know that they need to queue up a large heal to get to land on the tank. I favor using Healing Touch for this, so as soon as I hear the 2-second call, I'm going to queue up a Healing Touch so that it lands as soon as that debuff drops off of the tank. The other thing that you will notice is that I keep my Life Bloom on the Maloriak tank. I know that it can't heal him while Engulfing Darkness is active, but I found having the 3-stack running in those few seconds that he can be healed to be a really good buffer. And it also lets me time letting that stack bloom if he needs some quick spot healing, while he can be healed. Sometimes he will have puddles that get dropped underneath him and his life will drop really low. It's pretty easy to deal with that by just using some raid cooldowns such as Hand of Sacrifice or Guardian Spirit to keep him alive until your healers are able to heal him. We've gone into our first red phase here, and I've gone into Tree of Life to get the raid topped off and to prepare for taking our first Scorching Blast. The Aberrations just spawned, and we've dropped a Power Word Barrier to help mitigate some of this Scorching Blast damage. And our healers are just working through the raid, trying to get us all topped back up to prepare for the next Scorching Blast. We generally raid wall the second Scorching Blast, but you're going to see we use an Aura Mastery here. That's because our raid wall came a little early, and so our Prot Paladin called out that we probably needed another backup cooldown in order to mitigate some more of that Scorching Blast damage. We've gone into the blue phase, and this is the easiest of the 4 phases for the entire raid. The only thing really to note in this phase is that the people that get selected for the ice blocks need to be brought back to full health before the ice block is broken, because the ice blocks do a large amount of damage upon being broken, and if the target is not topped back up, they're going to end up dying when they get broken out of those ice blocks. I will usually cast a Healing Touch on them or a Rejuve and a Swift Mend to help get them topped up so that we can get them broken out. Outside of that, you just have to watch the melee who get the Biting Chill and make sure you toss them a little extra heals to make sure that their life stays sufficient. We've just gone into our first green phase here. Our tank is backing Maloriak out, and we usually ask the tank to use a cooldown as he does that, because Maloriak does hit pretty hard, and all of the healers help out getting that Maloriak tank stabilized a little bit. Right now, we're kind of just waiting for the next dark phase to start. I think the number one tip that I can give you for this fight is to have all of your raiders make a power aura to let them know when they are standing in the sludge. Especially as a healer, it's very, very easy to get tunnel visioned and not realize that you're standing in the sludge. And the sludge does an enormous amount of damage very, very quickly. So if people stand in it too long, they're going to end up dead, which, is, of course, not a great thing. So you'll see my power aura pop up. It's a giant purple skull that pops in the middle of my screen to let me know that I am standing in the bad and need to get moved out of it. Um, to heal this phase, I generally will just toss out rejuves and wild growths along with some swift mends in between healing the Maloriak tank when his engulfing darkness has dropped off. The people who take the most amount of damage in this fight are the melee and the warlocks. And that's because the warlocks are up there in melee range for immolation aura. And the reason that they take so much damage is because they tend to get more puddles of sludge under them just by nature of there being so many people all grouped up together. So they're either always moving out of a sludge or getting hit by a fresh sludge. And so it's really important to give them a lot of extra heal love or you'll end up with a lot of dead melee. That's not to say that they don't need to pay attention and get out of the sludge as well, but they will always be taking some form of sludge damage. So that's just something to keep an eye on. I generally try to swift men underneath the melee so that they have an efflorescence, although they complain a little bit that some of those ground effects make it hard to see the sludge that's under them. We're going to go into another red phase. We're going to barrier the first Scorching Blast again. I've, gone back into Tree of Life, and I'm just going to repeat what I did in the first red phase. Let me talk a little bit about the Aberration tanking. We use 2 tanks for it, one on each side of the room, and we have them split the Aberrations. One tank will tank 5 and one tank will tank 4. We found that splitting them up was significantly more stable than having one tank try to kite them and receive crazy damage when 9 aberrations came up. So if you have DPS that can sustain the damage threshold for the encounter, I would highly recommend utilizing 3 tanks for the heroic version of this fight. We are going to go into a blue phase here. Blue phases are really optimal times to use a concentration potion. You see I just took one, and that's just because there's not a whole lot of damage going out to the raid. I think just about all of our healers concentrate for this fight, and it's just really important to communicate, when you've taken your pot and when you're finished with your pot so that the other healers know either that you're out of commission for 10 seconds or that they're free to take their concentration potion. We've never had any trouble with all of our healers utilizing a concentration pot during the blue phase. We're going to go into the next green phase here, and you're going to see that I'm actually standing a little bit too close to Maloriak, and I'm going to get knocked back. It's really important, especially for your DPS, that they stay in outside of that knockback range for Maloriak, or they're going to end up getting knocked back and having to reposition to DPS those aberrations, and it'll cause significant problems with getting those aberrations down in time. We're going to Bloodlust and push phase 2. The most important thing I can stress about this second phase is dodging the ice orbs. You'll probably wipe more times to ice orbs than anything else in phase 2. Good communication about where the orbs are and people getting moved really helps simplify that aspect of the fight. We tend to call out if they're in melee or if they're at ranged. We just took our first Acid Nova, and so I'm going to use a Tranquility to get everybody topped up. The Acid Nova hits really, really hard, so it's important that you get the raid topped up and keep them at full health in preparation for the other Acid Novas. I'm going to toss out a bunch of rejuves and wild growths and swift men under the melee there to try and get the raid topped off. The other 2 tanks are handling the 2 ads that spawned when we pushed this transition. The only thing of note there is that the healers healing those tanks need to really stay at max range of the tanks or they risk being fixated by the ads. You can see both of our tank healers there got fixated by their tank's ad and ended up dying because of that. So just make sure that those healers stay at max range and the tanks will be able to maintain those fixates without too much trouble. We're just continuing on through the fight. You've seen a couple people, including myself, get hit by those frost orbs, and we're just trying to keep everybody topped up to survive these later acid novas. And that's the entirety of the Maloriak encounter. Please don't hesitate to let me know if you have any questions, and I hope that you all found this guide helpful.